All right, guys. So we have here another story, another one of somebody in the U.S. military who has a conscience who finally said, you know what? I can't do it anymore. I'm stepping down, and I'm stepping down because what's going on is so incredibly barbaric and savage and brutal and disgusting and genocidal that I can't take it anymore. So here we have Ahmed on MSNBC, who, by the way, has been doing a phenomenal job, really risking his job on a daily basis to tell the truth about what's happening in Gaza. So Ahmed is going to talk to Airforce member Riley Livermore, who stepped down as a direct result of U.S. support for Israel. I got a small clip here. Let's listen, and then we'll discuss more.
I unequivocally think the answer is yes. Just the sheer volume of weapons we're providing, the billions and billions of dollars of aid, just being in Israel, right? Firsthand experience of how pivotal the U.S.'s influence is in that region, both diplomatically and obviously just funding this whole thing. President Biden, I believe this with all my heart, could pick up the phone and make this stop right now. And the fact that he doesn't, to me, it is, I've been hoping for the last 9 months that the last thing, the red line, the next bombing, the next child dying would be a breaking point, and it hasn't happened, and it's been utterly frustrating for me.
So look, I've tried to cover as many of these as I can when these stories come out, but let me ask you guys, how many do you think there are now that have finally said, you know what, enough, I can't do this anymore. I can't be a part of this machine that's bringing about so much death and destruction and devastation. I mean, we have to be over 8, 9, 10, maybe about a dozen, right? And then there's others who are basically like, we interviewed one of them, by the way. You guys check that out. Somebody who worked at the State Department on Crystal Kyle and Friends. Definitely go sign up for Crystal Kyle and Friends, and she goes into all the details about what was going on there. But there's also people who, so there are the ones who resign publicly, and basically go to the media and talk about it. Then there's others who I'm sure have resigned but not gone to the media. They've resigned because they have a conscience, but they're not making a big deal of it. They're just saying, I can't be a part of this, and then they move on. And then there's also others who are disgusted by what they see, and they're doing their best from within the belly of the beast to do it, whether it's like slow rolling more money and more weapons to Israel, it's sort of gumming up the works, if you will. That's what the whistleblower that me and Crystal talked to, that's what they said, is like, there are some people in there who are like, I'm just as disgusted, but I'm going to, try to have a direct hand in this and slow everything down on purpose. And then there's others who are like, remember when the Biden staffers joined the protests outside of the White House? So look, there is colossal disagreement because you know what? People have eyes and they have ears. And, Biden and his team views these people who do the real work on the ground. They view them as just like, they're just pawns. They're just like mindless drones who exist to do our bidding. But no, these are individuals and they're human beings and they have thoughts and feelings and they take issue with certain things. And look, we've crossed the line of that which is acceptable so long ago that I'm actually not surprised. I'm surprised there's not more of these people who are stepping down and making a big show of it. Because again, this is something where if enough of them do it, if you hit a tipping point and the government practically can't function on this issue, well then, again, they'll have like no choice but to change policy, at least to some extent. So I really salute this guy. I salute Ahmed for covering him. And he makes it clear, Israel cannot do what they're doing without us. We know the death toll. We know it's over 46,000 dead Palestinians. We know over 40,000 of them are innocent civilians. We know the rate is like over 90% of the dead are innocent civilians. We know it's over 16,000 children, over 10,000 women. We know that 2 million Palestinians are now homeless out of 2.3 million in Gaza. What a devastating number. We know Israel has bombed UN buildings and hospitals and schools and factories and every single kind of civilian infrastructure you can imagine. We know they've done a total siege on Gaza. We know that people are starving. We know that there's no anesthesia and no medicine and people are struggling and kids are having limbs amputated without any medicine whatsoever. We know all of this stuff. And again, his words, not mine. They cannot do what they're doing without us. And he said Biden can stop it right now if he wants to stop it. Biden can stop it. He just doesn't want to stop it. And he was optimistic in saying, I thought eventually Biden would be like, okay, enough. Not only has he not said enough, he'll make a public show of, I kind of disagree with you a little bit, and then they do the same thing, and he goes, okay, I guess you're going to do that, and I'm still going to send you money and weapons. And now the big thing is Hezbollah. Netanyahu wants to draw the U.S. into a war with Hezbollah, and then if Biden does that, which it looks like he will, then that helps Trump win the election because Biden's numbers will implode, starting a war nobody wants, and then Netanyahu gets what he wants, which is Trump in power, and Netanyahu gets to stay in power longer because now there's a war with Hezbollah, and he said only when the war is over will I have elections and maybe move aside. So he's been played for a fool. He's been played for an absolute fool. It's a joke. And that's putting aside the morality of it and the ethics of it, and that's, of course, the main bone to pick that these guys have. So look, if this video somehow makes it to anybody else who's in any position in the government, right? Any position in the federal government that has anything to do with foreign policy at all, if you're watching this, step down. Step down, talk to the media. Let's see, I would love to see like 30 more people tomorrow do it. Because we need to take a stand. As U.S. citizens, we have to take a stand and be like, this shit does not represent us even in the slightest. I naively thought that everybody had some red lines growing up. We learned how horrible the Holocaust was growing up, how disgusting and grotesque, and how we can't ever let that happen again. And now we're just watching it happen again, right? And it's debatable. You have some people on the other side of it, like, no, I think this is okay, and we're just being defensive, etc. No, none of this is okay. None of this is okay. And it's because we got that education about how horrific the Holocaust was that we're opposed to the genocide of Palestinians today by the Israeli government. So I hope everybody snaps out of it and wakes up and grows a conscience. And because now, you see a lot of people walking around and you hear them talk about this issue and you just go, oh, you're a Nazi. There's a lot more just Nazis walking around than I ever thought, right? There's a lot more of them than I ever thought. People who would defend Israel at this late date, that's just Nazi shit. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.